edition of Strange New Pod. I'm not your fleet admiral. I'm what am I, Vice Admiral, Rear Admiral? I'm Eric.
Vice Admiral.
Let's go with Vice Admiral Eric. I'm here. Julian has taken a well-deserved shore leave today. I hope you guys can hear me. Yep, you can.
Yep.
And joining me is the best crew on this side of Pelea's jukebox. Joining me is Captain Hawk. Right, Captain Hawk is here. Yeah, the holo emitters finally went online.
They went online. They got rebooted. I had some reprogramming done after some bad interactions with Grok. Yeah. So I am back.
Yeah, and then they have holo emitters on Shorely Planet right now. So you were just switching between those two. It was nice and cozy. As you can see, you're cooking up. I don't think they can see you're in a kitchen right now. So that is lost on everyone out there. That's okay.
I mean, there's some telltale signs in that.
Well, no, they can't see it because I have a little rectangle. We have different layouts now that we've got into this season.
I have been absent.
Good Lord, man. Get your shit together. Also joining us is Captain MC with her own horror hot take. Give me one right now. What now? Do it.
Right now?
I guess so. That's what it says in the
best. Okay. My favorite horror movie is Jaws. I don't know if that's a hot take, but some people wouldn't call it a horror movie.
I mean, if you're
a horror movie.
It is. That's the point of it. It's a horror blockbuster. It's the first of the horror blockbusters, which is phenomenal. That's a great movie.
It's actually in theaters right now. They're doing it in IMAX, which I just realized, and I should go this weekend.
Yes, 100%. Oh my God, I would see that in IMAX.
I know.
That's like an hour away, right? Yeah. We'll talk about that afterwards. By the way, all three of us have been messaging. Not three of us. It's me and Hawk and Julian have been messaging each other about Alien Earth. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna just talk about Alien Earth. I know MC hasn't seen it yet, but you can just join. You'll go with the flow. It's fine. It's fine. There's only 4 episodes. You haven't missed much. But seriously, this week, what happens when the Vulcans ask for help with a non-Federation planet, leaving Pike, La'an, Chapel, and Uhura to have to go undercover as Vulcans? What happens when the serum to bring them back doesn't work? Can Jim and Scotty prevent La'an from going full Romulan? What do we learn about Una and her Vulcan ex? We're going to break this all down, but first, Hawk, we need to thank our patrons at the Ready Room level and above, please.
Absolutely. Thank you once again to Simon Stager, Jeff Reeve, Tallulah, Jen Stein, Tina Alexander, Joe Saporito, Kang Wee, Takako Nagumo, Fernando Nogales, SMK, Colin Davidson, Shatterhand 2049, Jesco, Michael Graham, Emily and Travis, Maggie Light, Wayne Ritz, Scone of Arc, Sean, Jay Howard, Mahalani Uchiyama, Matt Harker, Joshua Lewis, Tara Paulin, Slope 74, Rude Parakeet, Adam Sanders, the Amy the Magic Snail, that one's new, Aaron W., Carl Ingoli, Michael Kwan, Caitlin, Elizabeth Dean, Jim McMahon, Sedano 317, Puka Hair, 3 Fries Short, Cat Tip, Tripping the Reed Alert Over a Pineapple, Sean Manning, Asher at the Bat, Chris Waterman, RHCB, Martin Simpson, Norman Buckwald, David Prime Hildebrand, Taryn J. Robinson, Rod Grinner, Eric the Red, Trouble, Jamie Roberts, Honeyberry, Paul Taylor Pitt, Brett Jones, Michelle P., Margin Walker 82, Melissa Bartell, Jesse Robbins, Kim, Chris Finoglia, Felix Dax, Kelly McKinnon, Chief Petty Officer Snuggles, and our newest collective member, Lisa Moore. Thank you once again for keeping our nacelles lit.
And of course, a big thank you to our Badmirals, our EPs, who keep the Plomic soup hot. Plomic. Oh my God. Hot and Jim Kirk's whiskey glass filled. Simon Stager, Chris Waterman, Tara Polin, Brett Jones, Dana, Matt Harker, Jim McMahon, Maggie Light, and Fef. Woo! Any news from us? Do we have anything?
Go buy merch from our store.
We have lots of merch. We have good merch. MC just released a couple shirts 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think 2 weeks ago.
It's all lovely.
Came out with a 5-year mission shirt, and we've also got a bunch of character shirts. We've got Pike, and it says "We Explore." We have the Spock Imagination, Uhura, Keep Us Connected, and Una with ad aspera per aspera. And then Eric also has a bunch of cool stuff in the store.
Oh, yeah. I guess I do have stuff on there. There's going to be more. We're just going to keep on adding stuff.
And of course, for Strange New Worlds, we also have our Jenna Mitchell sticker.
Damn straight. Because this is a Jenna Mitchell stand podcast. We're just going to talk about how she's missing this episode and how it's.
She's in it.
Is she?
He is, but like, kind of miss.
Oh, yeah, for like 2 seconds. And
yeah.
It's right. I don't remember her being in it much.
I did see her name at the end credits. So
she was there, just she was doing her thing.
Doing her thing.
Yeah,
that's fair.
She's very competent, so they don't need to show her a lot.
No issues whatsoever.
Their Yum Yum podcast is asking, "Where's all the Sam Kirk merch?" And we really do need to have a mustache shirt.
Oh yeah.
I have a mustache design for a Boimler shirt. But maybe I'll just change it into a Sam Kirk shirt, because it is a shame we don't have any Sam Kirk merch.
We should have some Sam Kirk merch.
Maybe some flying pancakes and stuff. The wheels are turning. We got it.
Oh, I had a line. I don't know if we can do it, but something involving a mustache ride.
Oh.
I mean.
Okay.
No, I guess.
I mean. Why not? Anyway, let's go to the Strange New Loop. I don't have any of the sound effects, so our Strange New Loop is, if you could insert Patton Oswalt into any other Trek series, what show would it be, and who or what would he play? Ooh.
Oh, I think DS9.
Ooh.
Make him a Klingon.
Oh.
Like either like you put him in a position where he's like one of the the lower deck Klingon guys, and that the guy cleaning out like the waste out of their holodeck emitters or whatever, and that, or make him into some sort of like bloodthirsty like captain of that during the Dominion War. Yeah. Either way, like him, like in a Klingon outfit, and that definitely would check off another one of his bucket list items.
Oh my God. MCDM one?
Yeah, well, Patton Oswalt, we know he's a huge Star Trek fan. Mm-hmm. I just feel like he could be in any of the series, all of the series. Yep. He's a rather diminutive guy, so I mean, I could see Ferengi.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess DS9 would probably be really good for that, because that's where all of the good Ferengi episodes were. I could also see Lower Decks being a very perfect kind of fit for his humor. Mm-hmm. Then I would also maybe just like to do something like really wild, like how in A Piece of the Action, like the communicator gets left behind, and like everybody has said they turn into like a Trekkie planet basically after that. I would love to see him do that, and so that he could just go on some big monologue like he did on Parks and Rec, but about Star Wars.
I mean, the man can filibuster like no one else, right? Yeah. Oh my God. That would be great. Personally for me, I think I would love to see him on Prodigy, because I think his energy, and make him a Tellarite, have his energy go against Jason Mantzoukas, and I would just be delighted. Yeah. That would just be the best, to be honest to me. All right. Is there any in the chat? Let's see.
Jedi Cat said Oswalt would have been great in the Lower Decks.
Agreed.
Yum Yum Pod said put him in the Star Trek Picard again as a cartoon rat.
Was he in Star Trek Picard? I don't remember.
Oh, I think he was. Oh yeah, wasn't he an animated thing in the Freeclad episode?
I
believe
oh my gosh, I have to go back.
I believe it's Stardust City Rag,
first episode,
that he does a voice
season.
in.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know where in my brain I pulled that out of. Probably the part of my brain that does quizzes for Trexperts Quiz.
Yeah, that part. But yeah, oh my God, I totally forgot that. Or you know what? I didn't forget. I didn't know that he was on Star Trek Picard. Fair enough. All right, so we're gonna talk about 4.5 Vulcans now. This is our review. And just like we're gonna last week, apparently we're gonna do this review a little differently tonight. We're gonna kind of go character by character, but let's first talk about the cold open.
Yes.
I had the same experience with LSD. The episode opens with Una doing a first officer's log and how the crew is going to go on shore leave, and she's not. With La'an trying to talk her out of it. In the galley, Spock asks to sit with them, but La'an says no and realizes she made things weird, while Spock sits in the corner eating a sandwich. We also get the entire scene, plus some additions that we saw at SDCC 2024 last year that we all didn't like. I just saw that today. I also don't like that. Pike, La'an, Uhura, and Chapel turned into Vulcans for this covert mission that they complete with ease. When they beam back, the serum doesn't work to bring them back. Spock's reaction says it all. After being the brunt of their less than favorable things said about his half Vulcanness. What do we think about the cold open? Our order is going to be MC and then Hawk and then me. MC.
I was going to say Hawk since he hasn't been
Hawk,
here
you're
for a
first.
while.
Go Hawk.
Yeah. So the cold open. Oh boy. So when I saw this trailer back last year, I knew this was going to be another problematic episode for Strange New Worlds because we already went through charades and the kind of the tone deafness that it had in regards to biracial people and genetics and race and everything altogether, and that I knew we were in for a really kind of difficult episode to watch, and it in that regard it really doesn't disappoint. With this cold open, I felt like they did a lot of heavy lifting to try and get that premise in place so that this could be done, and it really, like I said, I could feel it, that there was this pre-warp society that already made contact with the Vulcans. They were experiencing some sort of an emergency. If I'm remembering this right, you're wrong on that, please jump in. I only got to watch it the once today. But a pre-warp society and that knew about Vulcans, that didn't know about the rest of Starfleet. Okay. They have a problem that only Vulcans, they reckon that only the Vulcans can solve since they were the ones who set up the technology. Okay. But they have really good scanners, so the usual prosthetics and that are not going to cut it down there, so they have to do the whole gene experiment again with the serum and that and transform themselves into Vulcans. Like I said, a lot of heavy lifting to get here. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, before we get into that scene, I want to talk about the first scene because I had a problem with this episode right from the beginning. And I'm really sorry to say that. I love La'an and Una talking. I think that Rebecca Romaine and Chrissy Chong have really great chemistry together. I just wish their entire conversation didn't have to do with men. Because, and I mean, like, that's a recurring thing through this episode. Not a single scene passes the Bechdel test. Oof. Because we're always talking about Spock or Doug or Beto. And, on a show with so many ladies, it should be a little better than that. So I do not care for that. I did like the way Ethan Peck, with his napkin, the way he just snapped it open, it was really nice. And him being very awkward eating alone. Eating also a sandwich, awkward, I think.
Also awkward eating. I seem to think he seemed to dissect the sandwich into pieces.
Yeah. I do like that he was eating with his hands, though, because I know, like, as somebody who has read a lot of Spock fan fiction, people always have him eating with a knife and fork because Enterprise did that with their Vulcans. And I was just like, no, Spock wouldn't do that. And so I'd like to have canonical proof of that.
Is that a thing with Vulcans?
Yeah, in Enterprise, it comes up, I think, in the first season where T'Pol is, like, cutting a breadstick with a knife and a fork. But as for the big part of this, like, the actual, like, let's get into the episode proper. First of all, I'm just, they were trying so hard to come up with a reason for this episode to happen. Like, and I feel like they worked backwards on it. It's like, we want to do wacky Vulcan hijinks again for the third time. And they were like, oh, well, we have to come up with a reason for it. Mm-hmm. And I am usually very forgiving of shows or movies or whatever doing something stupid to bring the whole plot along. Like, The Martian is one of my favorite movies and books ever. The whole storm on Mars like that, not able to actually happen. Just scientifically, Mars does not have that happen. But I don't care, because we need that to happen so that Mark can get stranded. But in this whole, the Vulcans made first contact with this species, but we can't go there because of the Prime Directive. What? This is stupid. I don't understand why the Vulcans are always treated as outside of the Federation. The Vulcans are, like, not only, like, in the Federation, they helped found the Federation. So I just don't understand why there would be this, Prime Directive rule here. It doesn't seem like, it would feel like they would be grandfathered in, because it's not like they're helping them with warp technology. They're helping them with a technological thing on their planet. It seems like they're not interfering with the natural evolution of the planet, and that shouldn't be a thing anyways. It's, a nuclear reactor that is, going in meltdown or whatever it was. I also have trouble believing that Spock is the only Vulcan on the Enterprise. Again, the Enterprise is the flagship of the Federation. The Vulcans are one of the major members of the Federation. So you're telling me that there's absolutely no Vulcans other than Spock? I mean, I know in the original series, Spock was the only one we ever saw, but first of all, this isn't the TOS Enterprise, and we needed to have Spock be the only one up there at the time to make him, special and everything. So it just struck me as a main characters do all of the things, because otherwise there's no reason why Pike should have to go do this. Like, there was just a lot of walking to get to this part. And I don't think that it's a part that's worth getting to.
No.
Now, I am going to be somebody who is, I'm going to try to, I will highlight the things that I liked about this episode. I will. I had a lot of trouble with it for a lot of reasons. And I think probably one of the big ones, and it's a recurring theme in whatever the one is in Spock-a-mock is what they called it in the first season, and then charades, and now this one. They want to turn them into the popcorn episodes, where these are the episodes where you turn your brain off and you just have fun. But they have all of this really heavy stuff that really isn't appropriate for, lol, we're going to laugh about Spock being half Vulcan, and we're going to put in all of the Vulcan stereotypes. Like, I know Vulcans aren't a real thing, so, like, we shouldn't, it's weird to get offended about the stereotypical portrayal of Vulcans, but I'm a Trekkie. I like the Vulcans. I don't like this portrayal of them. It feels like a parody of them.
Yeah.
And it upsets me. And then there is, like, the whole issue of, like, this genetic essentialism, where it's like they completely change because now they're Vulcans. It's like there's absolutely no reason why they should change so rapidly because they're Vulcans.
I mean,
they're still them.
Yeah, they've said how close Vulcans are to humans, but they have the training to, push down their, or not push down their emotions, but to control them. They didn't have that training. They shouldn't be like full.
Here's what gets me is the fact that, okay, we've explored that, Vulcans, in past, series and that, like Enterprise and that, we knew there was antipathy in that between Vulcans and humans, even though they founded the Federation together and that they're both founding members and that, but, and we have experienced Vulcan arrogance and that towards humans and that. We get that, that's been established. But as you mentioned, this is still Pike and Leon, and the racism is taught and learned, So if a Vulcan, happens to not particularly like humans and that, it's because they're brought up in the society and that kind of, sees them as, not, I'm going to say it, inferior to them, but not Pike. They grew up, they were human in that. It's like the Vulcan, having your genetics change can't override your basics thinking about who you are and your principles, This is, at least not from what I understand.
Yeah.
This is what the big problematic thing about this episode is
yeah.
and episodes like this in the past. There's a lot of episodes where they do have characters, change their species. You can also look at Prophets and Lace, when Quark becomes a woman. It does have the same kind of uncomfortable feel to it, where we're putting characters through this medical procedure and it completely changes who they are fundamentally, because the writers seem to have no idea how humans actually work.
Mm-hmm. Haven't we been having this nature versus nurture conversation for years? And the fact that they keep on going back to it
the same
but it's the same point too. It's the nature, it's not the nurture. That's why I like Superman so much, the movie this year. It's because Lex Luthor sees him only as a villain, as an alien, right? And he has that speech about, I'm human, I grew up here, I have those fundamentals. That's why I like Superman, because he's so human, even though he's an alien. I know we have,
as much as I hate Dean Cain, my favorite line about Superman is from Lois and Clark, where it's Clark is who I am, Superman is what I do.
That's a great quote, despite who said it. Are you done, MCs, or can I?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the cold open, I didn't know what this episode was about. I saw the title, I heard things that you guys had mentioned, I didn't see the clip. I watched it later and I was like, oh, that's a weird thing to hype up people with, I guess, because that was the first
especially
thing you showed,
before
right?
anything came out. We hadn't gotten a trailer or anything yet. This was the first thing anybody saw.
Yeah, it was very odd. I like hearing Una do a first officer's log. I like her in general. We'll talk more about her later. I do not care about who Spock is dating, and I don't like that there's an emphasis on that all the time. So, does he work well with Lon? Sure, I guess. I don't care. I honestly, I don't like it.
I think they have a really good chemistry together, the actors, and they are two genetically perfect people who have lots of sexy dancing scenes, and I'm here for that.
Yeah.
And I was watching Jessie Gender's review of this episode, and she had a really good point about how the relationships are handled, specifically in this episode, but kind of mostly throughout the season. It's so high school. Yes. And as soon as she said it, I'm like, oh my God, yes. It's that is exactly what's going on.
Yeah, the whole not sitting with me. Oh, that is super high school. The awkwardness in the elevator a couple episodes ago. I think it was episode 5. Oh my God, it's so high school. Oh, ew. That's gonna make me think. That's gonna make you rethink.
It totally recontextualizes frickin' everything.
The sandwich eating scene, like everyone else said, hilarious. That is also very high school. Like him sitting alone, being like, I did laugh that the mission just was ended right then. I thought that was going to be the whole premise of the episode, to be honest. So the fact that they finished it, I thought, that's funny.
I'm fine with the fact that they did it once, but
Yeah.
we're just gonna skip over things.
Yeah.
The fact that they do it twice, that's a problem. But we'll talk about that.
I do.
What?
Sorry, go for it, Hawk.
Why did Pike need to bring a Lurpo with him?
He didn't, because Lurpas are Vulcan. That's why he had to bring a Lurpa with him. It's the same reason why they had to wear their Vulcan robes the entire episode, even though it's logical if they're Starfleet officers that they should be wearing their fucking uniforms.
Like Spock. His hair also like grew. I don't know why. I thought that was funny.
Well, why did any of their hair change?
I don't know.
Apparently, dreadlocks are genetic.
I will say that this episode feels like they had a bunch of cut like ideas from previous episodes. Like, I think this would be funny and this would be funny, and then they sort of like tried to make an episode around that. It felt really disjointed. Like, it didn't. We'll get to it, but it didn't feel like there was a point to this episode. And there isn't.
Oh, jeez. Sorry, I got to read Kevin Richardson's comment in the chat. This episode is less Strange New Worlds and more DS 90210.
Oh my God, we should make a shirt that says DS 90210. Someone remember that for later. Put in the Discord. We need that for later. All right, let's move on. Chairs are inefficient. We're jumping a bit here, but it comes to a point where they all decide that they plan to stay Vulcan. What did we feel about this part, Hawk?
There was like this undertone of Tuvix to it, but it just felt weird. You know, they just seemed to be in love with the idea of being Vulcans and that, and not remembering exactly who they were and where this mission was supposed to go. Like, it didn't make any sense, and it spoke to this, a kind of a really negative portrayal of Vulcans and that I don't like, and that they're so arrogant that if you got a taste of what it was like to be one in that, you just want to stay that forever and just forget everything that you knew and were. It was just bad writing. Like, I don't know what point they were trying to make with this, but it did not work. It was, and more than a little offensive.
MC.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised they decided to stay Vulcan, because of course, the episode was only half over at the time. So of course they were. They couldn't change them over that early. And how am I going to put this? I wish that they had actually gone on some sort of character journey. If we're going to go through this exercise, which apparently we have to, I would have liked them to have actually learned something about themselves because of having to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, basically. I don't feel they did. All they learned is that, Vulcans are monsters, which they're fucking not. No. And I did like the way Pike said, I've made bad choices, but nothing really happened. The characters didn't really learn anything about themselves. And if you're going to go through this sort of transformation, that's supposed to be the point, So unless you're Kafka, in which case the whole transformation is just supposed to be tragic. But I
mean, that's what I was messaging Hawk about today. I was like, they didn't learn anything from this. Did they get some insight with, do they have more empathy for Spock having to, do all of this? No. Did they learn something about themselves? Did they appreciate themselves more? No. The episode just sort of ended and they were just like, oh, well, I'm glad I turned back human. And that's not a great lesson to,
Yeah, and I think part of the reason for that is because they didn't have the Katra scenes. They only had the one for La'an. Mm-hmm. And that, it's fine. The opening part, we're just doing that for setup, so let's get it over with quickly and not see any of that. But the not showing anything from the Katras and seeing their human, basically souls, basically saying that I want to be human. that cuts out a lot of the emotionality of it. So it would have been nice to have seen, it's like Pike being like, I don't like that I'm being cruel to my crew, because, you know, I don't care if you think it's logical. It's not logical to, you know, exhaust your human crew, because apparently you don't have any Vulcans on the ship. So, you know, you got to work with humans.
They don't have any aliens on the ship. That's the weird thing.
They don't.
It's all human. All.
Yeah.
Like, we had an Andorian in the first season, and then gone. It's very strange.
I mean, you would think that now that they have it established, that they should have Vulcans, Andorians, and Tellarites on the ships.
You'd think that at least the 4 core, like the main founding members, would have someone. I don't know. Anyway, I don't think I need to add anything about this. It was not surprising that they wanted to say that. Like, what else would they do the rest of the episode, to be honest? We're going to start with Pike first. Over cleaning at its finest. Pike's take on being a Vulcan is some brutal honesty and over cleaning of his quarters. He plans to invite Admiral Pusalk for dinner with Captain Batal so she can talk about going back to Starfleet JAG. What do we think about the over cleaning scene? Hawk.
Yeah, again, it was kind of, I mean, I don't know. It just seemed like, you know, rob Pike of the character he was, and not to, like, you know, that was, you know, that's his sanctum. It's the place he kind of invite. He you know, he's a very strange captain. He invites everyone in. He cooks for them and that. And now we have him as this Vulcan with this ridiculously high hair and that, you know, and he's just cleaning on and kind of emphasizing more of the kind of negative racial stereotypes involved with the Vulcans and that, about their disgust with humans and that it's so pervasive and that they cannot, you know, he cannot buy anything like Left Behind that smells of human in the place and that, and just been, it cleans it. And honestly, again, it's still Pike in there, and the way his, you know, the way he talks to Batel at this point is, you know, he's basically, yeah. It's hard to describe it, but I just didn't like it. I just didn't gel with it. I know it was played for comedy and that, but I mean, like, there was supposed to be something funny about it. I just didn't find any of it funny.
MC.
So I have to start with, I love Anson Mount. I think he has done such a wonderful job with Pike. His playing a Vulcan was awful. Like, I don't, like, he kind of had like this like monster movie Frankenstein walk to him, and his loudly shouting all of his lines was just so jarring. Like, not in a, you know, Pike's acting weird. I was just like, what is Anson doing? Like, it especially struck me during the opening credits.
Yep.
Where when I watched it the second time, I had to skip it because I couldn't stand to listen to it, because there was just the way he delivered his lines didn't sound Vulcan. It sounded like a broken robot. So was not at all into that. And I don't understand really what they decided to do with him here. The having him over cleaning his quarters. He doesn't feel like Pike at all. At least with, I would say, Uhura and Chapel, I can understand where those characters would come from. Like, Uhura is using her Vulcanness to fill in for her insecurity, and Chapel is using the Vulcanness to enhance her drive. But what aspect of Pike is this? Is this him trying to, his protectiveness over Marie to make things better for her? Because he sure tries to mess things up for her. So I don't understand what it is other than being like, here is all of the stereotypes of Vulcans that we have. It does feel like the writers just watched clips of like the Vulcan High Command from Enterprise. And that's all they based the Vulcans on from this. And it does a disservice to the characters. It does a disservice to the story. And it's just unpleasant for me to watch. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was a whole angle they could have gone with this. Chapel had mentioned it in sickbay in that when they first took the serum in that, she was fat, she was like, looking at her hands now and that. It's like, if they maybe found a way to, explore, like, their own environment from different eyes, which, they were looking through, and that, that might have been an interesting story. But no, they chose to go for laughs. And it's really not the funniest subject.
I mean, this scene, I don't know how I feel about it, because it doesn't stick out in my memory. I've seen this episode like 2 or 3 times just because I needed to watch. After I watched it the first time, and I was like, ugh. The second time I was like, maybe I'm being too harsh on it, and I was like, no, I wasn't. And the third, I just wanted to sort of cement things. I like MC. I think Anson Mount's an amazing actor. I even really like his comedy. I know a lot of people don't. I think he has great facial expressions. I think he has good timing in general. His Vulcan was robotic. It felt robotic, and I don't think Vulcans are very robotic at all, to be honest.
So we've got some comments in the chat. Eric the Red said, the overcleaning scene was the first tell for me of the humor at the expense of neurodivergent people, which is, I think, a really important comment. Vulcans, and in particular Spock, are very identified with the neurodivergent community.
That's fair.
I have so many friends with a variety of tisms, and all of them seem to identify with Spock, Data, Odo. These are the characters. And this mocking of Vulcans can feel like, mocking of the neurodivergent community. I know that's not what's intended by the writers, but that is certainly how this kind of thing comes off. And
it's not like it's the first time people have mentioned that, people identified. Like, this is widely known, and I know the writers know this. So the fact that they still went with this is strange. I don't know. Odd.
Okay, yeah. We're basically just baffled by this episode and that, and it's like, for people who are complaining that Star Trek is too woke, look at this and, get back to me on that.
We also have Gene saying, Anson Mount's comedy is so good in subtle humor, the facial expressions, intense situations. I totally agree with that. Having him in this situation, I think Anson is a really good straight man. Like, think of like those old scientists, like him playing off of Boimler and Mariner. He was so good in that. It's a very subtle humor. Or even in the Elysium Kingdom, which was certainly a much, larger, over the top role, but he was still very good at that.
Yeah. It was so theatrical.
But that's the thing. I think once you're getting into that like whole panto situation. Yeah. But this, it's the wrong wheelhouse for him.
Yeah. I mean, the script did not give him anything to work with either. So I will say that. I will say that I don't understand how Battelle stood all of this. Like, she's very forgiving as a person, and we've seen that so far, but I would have
You're surprised the Gorn didn't come out?
Yes, right? Like, why didn't that? Also, remember at the beginning when they're doing that sparring sequence and she just like all of a sudden had super strength for a short period of time? No one is concerned about this. Like, no one on the ship is concerned that a person that has, sort of gaining superpowers is just staying in the captain's quarters, but they don't know what's going on. Sorry, that was a tangent that I just could not leave alone. I don't need to talk more about this overcleaning scene. Pike ends up creating a 42 minute shifts, overcleans the whole ship, and then makes as he puts later some really bad choices at dinner with Marie, and Pasalk makes some bad choices. With some brutal honesty coming out at the worst possible times, leading to Marie, rightfully so, sticking up for herself and her values. And then she kicks Pike and Pasalk out of his own quarters. What do we think about this scene?
Again, it's still Pike in there, right? You know, he loves Marie and that. He fought for her and that. Like, you know, he did some crazy stuff. He broke a lot of rules and that and tried to save her and that. Where are all those feelings, you know, for her regard, and, you know, for her well-being and for her bloody career at this point and that? They're not, you know, they're not completely suppressed by logic and being Vulcan and that. They're there, you know. It's, you know, Spock would never like rat out a crewmate like that, you know, and especially not someone he was involved with romantically, and that, you know, to sulk and say, like, you know, she's probably not ready to get back to regular duties and that, you know, she needs more meditation sessions and that. It's just, where did this callousness towards her come from? And that, is that part of being Vulcan? I don't think so. Again, it's like there was very little of Pike in this performance, and just more of just a pantomiming what they think a Vulcan would do in this situation, you know.
MC.
Yeah, it really did feel like Pike completely left the building, and I did not like that, because Vulcans do feel deeply, and we didn't see any of this emotion for Marie, and I don't think that would happen. And it just, him and Pasalk, I think his name is, I keep on wanting to call him Bath Salt, and that's what I first heard, so it's now lodged in my brain. Them going back and forth about her career was so gross. I also, that conversation about food, and, you know, food should not be altered, and all I was thinking was, yes, that elusive leek sorbet plant, because isn't all cooking basically altering food?
Yeah.
Like, I try to make a funny joke about, you know, not putting salt on things, but yeah, no, sorry, cooking is a transformative thing. Like, you're not just eating raw fucking vegetables.
Yeah,
so
salt your food, damn it.
Stop being pretentious, because that's what they're doing. They're just being fucking pretentious. But Marie sticking up for herself, I liked her actually having some agency, because it does feel like that has been missing. But
Again, it's agency that has to be forced out of her, and that by a complete disregard for the two people who are discussing her career and where it's going.
The fact that we got into this situation in the first place was annoying. It did feel like if they wanted her to have this blow up with Pasalk, they could have found a way to do it, and I didn't. It was just uncomfortable for me.
Yeah, it wasn't. The scene was super uncomfortable, and it makes me think about Star Trek 2009, because Sarek talks about how much he loved Amanda as a Vulcan, and I thought that was such a good way of showing how Vulcans feel, but sometimes they don't show it. Like,
yeah,
he could still do that without insulting Batel as she was doing it. Right? It felt very awkward. This is why
writers
the Kelvin
remember Sarek of all people said to his son, "I married your mother because I loved her."
Yeah. That being said, I do like that Batel stood up for herself. I like Batel as a character, so that felt right. I just wish that she wasn't placed in this situation. I like that she.
I do like her getting back into the JAG Corps. It does seem like the correct place to put her.
Yeah.
And the whole end of the scene, or the whole storyline, where her standing up to Basalt actually helped make his decision. That I thought was good, because it does make sense for his character and for the position that she would be put into. So that was good, but it feels like there's so much crap around it that it's hard to appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Let's move on to Uhura. Uhura overscheduled. Beto and Uhura are supposed to go on a second date, but they don't want to wing it. She doesn't want to wing it. So Uhura mind melds with him with his consent, to take the best parts of him and make him efficient. Erica meets with her to tell her all the reasons, even with his permission, that wasn't okay. And after noticing in the galley that he was suddenly vegan, what do we think of Uhura and Beto along with Erica here?
Yeah, this is another big complication. Would a Vulcan, even with permission, would a Vulcan really want to change somebody in that, just for the purposes of dating, for God's sakes, or having a perfect second date? It doesn't make sense. It's no Vulcan would abuse their power, abuse their abilities like that. So this is another bad call on the writer's part. And Beto and that just kind of going along with it, and that I guess he's into her and that, but mind melding in that just to change bad habits in him. Again, it's just I don't know why they would take this take on it, and that again, it feels ugly and kind of cheapens the whole experience of the mind meld.
MC, sorry.
Okay, hands up. Who was super surprised to see Beto again after last week?
I don't understand how they're together still.
Yeah.
It honestly, it felt like his storyline was over. I was shocked that he showed up, and I was like, wait, what? Wasn't
Uhura super betrayed after that whole thing? That was what that scene was, right?
She felt like he was there to ambush the crew, and that with his documentary, and that she took it personally. He even thinking that he used her to get to them.
Yeah, it did give me total breakup vibes last week. So that they decided to go with this surprised me. And also, we are already complaining about the high schoolness of it. Everybody's plot lines has to do with relationships, basically. And it's just so... Ugh.
Does no work get done here?
Yeah. And I think that considering we always want more Tegas, instead of doing Beto and Uhura, you could have done something with Erica and Uhura.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously,
Sorry, Ortegas hasn't been getting a lot of love in that this season.
Season?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be, it's we're hoping this is the season that's going to break it. It's going to break that streak and that. And it's we're not getting it in that. This is episode 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we had the whole, Ortegases are messy. I did like that part where Erica really reams Uhura out over everything.
Yeah. I
just don't think that we needed Beto. I think that it could have been a situation where it was, between the two of them, they had to do something, or I don't know, just throwing this out there because they're throwing in so many stupid TV cliches. I don't know, maybe they decided to move into their quarters together so that Uhura would have better quarters than her on the lower decks, and then we got a whole a whole odd couple situation where you get the line through the floor, and then you could get some just nice stuff with Erica. So the consensual mind meld, which was actual brainwashing. Mm-hmm. I was. I'm gonna say dumb. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was There's so many problematic things in this episode. I need to pick my battles.
Yeah,
Yeah. He did agree to it, but he didn't know the extent. I mean, that does kind of play into the whole, you can agree to one thing, but that doesn't mean that the other thing is on the table.
I mean,
yeah, so that
you know those relationships in high school where they keep breaking up, and then the boyfriend wants to just do anything the girl says. You know that cliche? Is that this one?
Yeah,
that's this one.
Yeah. So it was really a nothing thing because though I do have to say, with Erica dressing down Uhura, I do feel like that was like the one, like, I'm sorry, I'm like, my mind is going so. Yeah. And they're trying to put in these moments of why these characters would choose to become human again. And maybe they would have had more impact if we had actually gotten to see the Katra scenes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I feel like this would have been, like, if we did switch out Beto for Erica, this would have been a really good way to show, you know what, I'm a communications officer. But I still maybe need to work on my communication with people. Like, that would have been a cool little concept for her. But this didn't lead to anything for her, did it? I don't recall her.
I don't know. Like, yeah, we're going into the chapel thing next, and I barely remember that scene. I think that's when I started second screen.
Yeah, Uhura. I mean, here's the problem. Like, did she have any issues with Beto? Like, the only issues with Beto were from last week, and none of that shit was brought up. It seemed like they were trying to establish that, like, Uhura is having trouble communicating with Beto about the fact that, you know, he's not able to commit to things. But we didn't see any of that because we didn't see Beto until after the Vulcan transformation. So, like, I think that was the problem with the plot. It's like there was no beginning to it, so it's like it just meandered because it's not, you can't have a story arc that doesn't arc.
Yeah, like the comedy comes from seeing, you know, what happens before, like, right, we just saw the change and we were like, okay, why, and then it ended. Like, I like that Erica says being human is flaws and all, but what flaws did we see of him other than last week, which they didn't touch upon?
Yeah, I mean, I can find a lot of flaws for Beto.
That's fair. I mean, but
I mean, those flaws would have been enough to, like, 86 him, in my opinion.
Which is why I was surprised to see him.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, I'm so not invested in them as a couple at this point that I'm just like, I will say, Celia is gorgeous as a Vulcan.
Yes. Yes,
I'm sure they all had a great time with the makeup and costumes and that. Yeah, I think I saw her Instagram post on it, and that, and, you know, she just loved, like, shit posing.
I mean, could you imagine getting those? That'd be delightful. All right, I'm breaking up with you, Chapel. Chapel decides to dedicate herself to all of her work instead of having any social life or friends or anything like that, of course, because that's the logical course of action. So she breaks up with Roger, and then she breaks up with Spock, and then she breaks up with all of her friends because obviously she's been socializing too much. At the end, obviously she realizes that this is a bad idea and reconciles with some people, including but inadequate Plo makes soup. I don't know what that means. Oh yeah, because she makes soup for them. What do we think of Chapel's arc here? That was. Yeah. Fuck.
Maybe there were some lessons she could have taken in that from this, you know, in regards to seasons 1 and 2 and that, and her relationship with Spock. But, like, here it's just another kind of another plot that really goes nowhere in that. I mean, it was kind of hilarious at the end of it, and that when she was transformed back and she had this look of horror on her face, and that it's like, oh my god, I just, like, dumped my fiance. I got to go repair that, but.
I do like that she says, I think I understand you a little bit more, Spock. That was nice to mention. Yeah. Someone said that in the chat, and I was like, oh, yeah, that did happen.
That did happen, yes. But again, you know, a lot of these scenes went past me, and I don't really remember that much about it, and it didn't make much of an impression, I guess.
MC?
Yeah, so I understand where they were going with Chapel more than with anybody else. I'm sorry, for this episode, it's really hard. Like, we're going through the characters one by one, but they didn't feel like the characters, and it feels like we're trying to ascribe motivations to these characters that just were not there. They did this stuff because they thought it was funny, and sound very pretentious, but as a writer, you can't just do stuff because you think it's funny. Mm-hmm. Like, you think about Star Trek Lower Decks. It's a very funny show, but the humor in that works because you care about the characters. And in this, everybody was just very unpleasant. Except there's one exception to that, and I'll talk about that when we get to it. And also Pelia. I did forget to mention, I loved Pelia, especially the fact that she did LSD in the 60s and 90s and last year.
Last year.
Well, I don't even think we talked about Pelia in this outline. That's a shame. We'll talk about her later.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up now.
So, the best part.
Yeah. So with Chapel, I mean, her deciding to rid herself of all of her friends, I mean, that could have actually been an interesting development for her. That so much of what we see from Chapel in Strange New Worlds is her relationship bullshit. We're told how brilliant Christine is, and still most of the stuff we focus on is her with Spock, her with Roger. So it would have been nice if maybe when she got over invested in all of this, she realized, after she goes back to being human, it's oh, I don't need to cut everybody out, but maybe I've been neglecting this part of myself, and this is why I kind of went overboard on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is I'm sorry, guys, when there's an episode that frustrates me, I can't help it. I rewrite it in my head to try to make it make sense.
Stop apologizing. You didn't write this episode. I mean, it's if anything, yes, please, take some aspects and maybe rewrite it in some fanfic, and that I think it needs it.
I mean, I think we all have thought of things that would make this episode better. Like you were saying, if we had built up to this, through the season, her maybe realizing that maybe she is neglecting her work for all of this. Why? That would make this more impactful. Everything just sort of was contained in this episode, right? This, they didn't build to this, and then they didn't learn anything from this. So there's nothing. There's no point to this.
They might never mention this again, and it's it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Chapel said she learned more about Spock, but
what did she?
When did that happen?
Yeah.
I did like the bit with the plomeek soup. The Spocks, this is unsatisfactory or whatever, or inadequate. That I thought was funny. I mean, especially, I was trying to figure out, Roger said it was hot. Did he just mean temperature, or did he mean spicing? Because if it was spicing, plomeek soup is actually supposed to be very bland.
I'm going to go with temperature.
Okay, if it was temperature, then that actually makes Roger's comment even funnier. It's hot. You warmed this up very, very well. So yeah, I enjoyed that part, that tiny little bit. But other than that, there's not really a whole lot there. I think they could have found something, but they didn't.
Mm-hmm. I do find it funny that as soon as you become Vulcan, you have to use the word fascinating. because that's what Chapel did.
Oh, and logical.
Logical,
Yeah.
of course.
Way too much.
Let's get to the Romulan part of the episode. Out of everyone, La'an gets to become more Romulan than Vulcan. And she starts asking about the weapon system, starting a war, and plotting it like only a Romulan would. She enlists Kirk and Spotty to help, who quickly catch on that something isn't right. What do we think about Romulan La'an?
I mean, this would have been a really interesting plotline if they had followed along with it more closely in that. But then again, like, would a Romulan really vocalize their plans in that as like, we'll blame this group, we'll blame the Tholians, we'll blame that, and it's like, no, Romulans are secretive in that. So obviously, we didn't get all those traits through this genetic manipulation. Yeah, again, played for, it was played for that comedy moment and that when she went for the booby trap, so at least Scotty got some scene out of it, and Kirk.
We'll talk about them next.
Right. But again, this could have been an interesting part. It's like, even when they didn't really say it, you could, that this was happening to her, you could see it in her face, like the plotting and the deviousness and stuff. But again, all this kind of goes to nowhere, Obviously, it leads to a Katra scene with Spock and that, and, a fight, dance sequence.
Which we'll also get to.
We'll get to. Yeah, I don't know. I think it felt more of an excuse to keep Jim in the loop on this one.
MC.
Oh, dear.
Okay.
So, I'm going to be delving into stuff from the very end. I know that we're going to be talking about it, but it's kind of hard for me to not discuss it. La'an's plot, I've been bitching about this episode a lot throughout things, but La'an's part is, I think, what really kind of cements it as, oh, they're really going here. Because as soon as they started to get into the Romulanness of it all, I knew that they were going to go con with it. And that made me so uncomfortable because we've already got this genetic essentialism of, we're Vulcans now, so we're going to act like Vulcans. And then they decided to add on this, but La'an is more like a Romulan because she is an augment and she is related to Khan, so she's a warlord. And this is just ridiculous and insulting and so problematic. And it goes against Ad Astra per Aspera, when you had La'an talking with, I'm trying to remember the character's name, Una's lawyer.
Right.
Yeah, about being augmented. And La'an is told that her genetics aren't destiny. They don't dictate who she is. Meanwhile, this episode is telling us exactly that.
That genetics are.
That her genetics dictate who she is. And I know Chapel said it when she was wrong because she was, a Vulcan. I'm doing sarcastic air quotes when I say wrong. But certainly Chapel is set up to be incorrect during that scene. But she calls Spock and La'an broken pieces that fit together. Oh, this is just, I don't, this is not good. This is really not stuff that we want to put out into the world. I like the bit where La'an and Pike have that Romulan moment, and it's like, do you know from time travel? I was on this mission that I cannot discuss. That was the one moment where I actually liked Anson's acting as a Vulcan.
Yeah.
Because it worked. That moment was fine. But everything about La'an being... Because, I mean, like, the thing is, it's like, everybody's like, oh, she's... The people who know about the Romulans, you know, it's like she's acting like a Romulan. And certainly that's what the writers were trying to get across. But it's just really gross that it's like, well, Vulcans can only act this one way. And so if La'an is acting this way, then obviously she's a Romulan rather than a Vulcan. And that doesn't even make any sense because the serum is from Spock, who is a Vulcan, not a Romulan. So, like at least if you're going to have this bullshit, like, logic, at least have the internal logic work, and it doesn't. So, I'm sorry to keep on complaining.
I know. It's the episode.
I mean, this is where I felt like this. They definitely had like plots that they wanted to put together, and they're like, you know, it'd be really cool if we had them try to be a Romulan. How do we put this in an episode? And they're like, well, we have all of these things. Let's put it together. That being said, I like Christina Chong as a Romulan. I thought that was cool. I didn't like that the reason why it felt like me that the reason is why that she became the Romulan is because she was the security chief. So she has violent tendencies, which is not a thing you want to put out there. I don't like that. I did like her acting. Hawk, I know I said we were going to talk about it later, but I did like the Pike and La'an scene. I thought that was funny. It was one of the parts I was like, oh, it felt fun. Like if they were their regular characters and they're like, do you know about this? And do you know about this? Let's say it at the same time. that's
I absolutely love that part.
Okay.
Yeah, they could have done it like with them as humans, and it would have been very funny.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I do like that this is a very trusting Romulan, decides to bring 2 minions with her. And let's talk about them, because there's a part where Jim is really impressed that Scotty basically knocks or basically out the Romulans by booby trapping the council and knocking out La'an. What did we think of the buddy cop situation, Kirk and Scotty?
I kind of did like this a little bit, you know. It was just so in the background, you know. It's like he just shows up. He was looking for Sam and that, but Sam's away doing something else and that. So he's like, "Why don't you and I hang out and that? Let's go have a drink and that." And as you mentioned earlier, Eric, and that, yeah, it's like this is Jim introducing Scotty to drinking.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's funny.
Yeah, the booby trap did kind of come out of nowhere, and that, you know, because, you know, obviously, like, Scotty was being very passive in that because he was afraid of her, you know, and you know, I guess rightly so at this point in that, because, you know, she did put Kirk on his ass, you know, when he tried to interfere with her machinations and that. So yeah, the booby trap was a bit unexpected. So that it worked as a comedy bit. I don't know. But you can see how this was another way they're trying to deepen Kirk and, you know, original cast members in that, you know, almost like they're moving it forward in that to, you know, some eventual series down the line. I didn't mind that.
MC.
Yeah, this was my favorite part of the episode. I do have to say, for all of my uncertainty about this season, Martin Quinn is such a treasure, and I can't believe that I've gone from I really don't like TOS Scotty to at this point being, it's like, do I have a crush on Martin Quinn and Scotty? Like, I might.
Not? He's delightful.
He's a puppy. It's adorable. And his chemistry with Kirk is fantastic. You can definitely see where they're going to go, but you can also see where they are right now. And it's so great. Mm-hmm. Like, there's just like this moment. Martin Quinn plays it so well when Kirk asks Scotty to go for a drink, and Scotty's voice breaks when he's like saying yes, and then he like is lowering his voice and trying to sound cool, and it was so perfect. It's like it's this wonderful, oh my god, I can't believe this is going to become the harried head of engineering that we see in TOS. This little puppy dog who's just basically hero worshiping Kirk. Like Kirk is definitely like the cool guy that Scotty never got to hang out with when he was at the academy. So, and he's like, oh my god, this guy wants to hang out with me. Like, I don't know, Scotty might have a crush on Kirk, which I am cool with.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
And like, as much as I didn't like the law and stuff, them actually like going after her was incredibly funny. The whole, she's not a poltergeist. And then when she comes out, Scotty's just like, poltergeist. It was perfect. And the booby trapping the console is so TOS Scotty. Like, that is just like perfect. Like, as soon as he did that, like Kirk in his brain said, this guy's gonna be on every ship that I work on.
For sure.
Yeah, so love them together. Love the scene at the end. It seems like every time we see Scotty off duty, he's drinking. Yeah. And he's like, I'm not much of a drinker. And it's like everybody is trying to corrupt him.
Yep. He's that friend.
Yeah. And it's like, I could get a taste for this. And it's like, oh, you will.
Well, I think the thing that cemented me, like, immediately, as soon as Kirk beams aboard and he's like, you can call me Jim. We're on first name basis. He's like, all right, Jim. And I was like, oh my god, they love each other. This is amazing. They're best friends. I want it's what I wanted. That's all I wanted from that point. I love them together. They're delightful. I want to see more. When 5-Year Mission comes out, and I love them. Like, they're so good together. They play off each other so well. They have such good on-screen chemistry. You're just like, you can see them being his friend, like best friends forever, until Bones comes in and breaks them up. That's what's gonna happen.
Well, then they become a threesome.
That's true. Yeah, it's Spock and make it a foursome.
I'm actually very convinced that the entire bridge crew of the Enterprise is just one big polycule.
I would be fine with that. I would be fine. They're just one big happy family. I love it. I love that, actually. There's a moment we talked about the part when Pike and La'an met and did that whole thing. Hawk, I sort of cut you off. Did you want to say anything more about that scene?
No, I'm good.
So this is in the outline, but at the end of the episode, we find out that all of them decide to turn back into humans except for one. So they end up having this Katra scene and this sort of dance fight between La'an and Spock. What did we think about bringing back, or her choosing that after a dance battle? Hawk.
I mean, I have loved the dancing between the two of them all season long, and that. So going into fight dancing and that, it was a good action sequence in that.
Action.
Yeah, well, it started as action and that. You could tell it's like it was really kind of going nowhere, and that he was kind of wrestling her back and that to being human and that. The fact that it ended with the dancing, which is what's connected them throughout the entire season, I guess that worked, and it was beautiful to watch. Yeah, I like that scene.
MC.
As I said before, I was endlessly frustrated by and off screen, all of these characters were fixed. That it felt cheap to me. I think that we should have actually seen it so that things would have felt, complete. This is kind of the storytelling equivalent of edging, and I don't like it.
Yeah,
it just broke, Eric.
It lacks context, right? Or arc.
As for the La'an stuff, just it was very aesthetically beautiful. She looked great. I love that dress on her. And I don't care if, like, somewhere in the back of my brain, I'm trying to work out timelines as to when cetacean operations started on the starships. But the fact that, like, they were in cetacean operations and there were beluga whales, like, behind them just jazzed me up so much. It was so pretty. And I just always love there being beluga whales on starships. Yep. I don't care about timelines. I want it always. I want to go back and say that the NX-01 had beluga whales on it.
Confirmed.
Yeah. But yeah, like I already talked about a lot of this, that so much of this, like bringing in La'an's augmented nature, her origins is just so, oh my god, I just can't with it. The fact that this is what we're saying the thesis of the episode is, that people's genetics like say who they are, and that some people just born bad. Like, no, I don't like this. This is completely just against things. And Khan wasn't evil because he was genetically altered. Khan was raised to believe he was superior to everybody else, and that's why he tried to take over the world.
I mean,
it has nothing to do with genetics. I would just like to point out that Eric is the one who has made all of the Kelvin references tonight, and I have only responded to one of them.
I love the Kelvin verse, and I will not.
That's because it's so good.
You've been slipping, MC.
I mean, yes.
Sorry, no, I mean, I've been pretty good over the last couple episodes while you guys weren't here. Like, I'm usually, like, on it. I've had a lot of stuff in this episode to talk about.
Yeah,
but the dance battle, I like them going through the different scenes. Like, I'm sure that is how the set is set up, that they are just interconnected, like, in weird ways, just based on the whatever the set is like. I know they did that on Buffy in the episode Restless, when they were also in a dream sequence. They took advantage of the way things were arranged. At least I think that's how they did it for this. I might be completely wrong, but I mean, it would be cool if they did.
You could invite us to the set and we could see.
Yeah, we are all in Canada. Yeah, we could totally, like, there's no travel expenses involved. We would love to come see it. And I know we've all been very rough on this episode, but we love you.
No one is infallible.
Anyways, and I mean, I always like them dancing together, but it did just feel a little hollow. It's like, oh, so they dance together and then everything's better.
Love conquers all. I think that's what this is that cliche for that.
Julian is in the chat and has said, "You do not get to go without me. I will drive the 8 hours."
I mean, there are many places you can stay. At least 3.
Julian, it's not up to us. We got to get Paramount. Like, get us that invite.
We love this episode.
Yes, we love our.
Are you done? Sorry, MC. Of this?
Yeah. Also, hello, Julian.
Hi, Julian. I like dance fights because this reminded me of like one of my favorite ballets, Romeo and Juliet, which has dance battles in it and ballet dance, and that's sort of what this reminded me of. I love the way it was shot. It was shot like very old school musical, like it was straight on. They didn't really take it from many angles, maybe a couple close-ups. It was very classical in the way it was shot. I love that. I love the lighting for it. The cetacean ops thing was amazing. Like I loved it. I thought it was so pretty. The her wanting to change back because of love. I don't know. I just saw it and I was like, oh, okay.
I will give them credit. They didn't have them kiss.
Yes.
They did have the little headbutt of love.
The head
but
love.
yeah, which it's always really nice when they do that.
It was
in
the
movies,
slow one where they went down and then the head, and I was like, oh. Sorry.
Julian wants to know if we got to Alien Earth episode 4 yet.
Man, the eyeball. Man. Oh, anyway, other than that, like, I guess it was a pretty sequence. It reminded me of ballet. It was nice. They're very quite good dancers.
They are.
I did not realize Ethan Peck throughout the season has been getting better and better, and I wonder if he has taken dance lessons before this. So that's interesting. And now that Ethan Peck and Christina Chong have a song together, I'm just wondering if they're a thing. Is that a thing? Are they a thing? I don't know.
Well, wait, are they a couple?
Yeah, they would make beautiful babies. I'm just saying.
That is apparently a rumor that's going around. But also, like, I mean, like the rumor started when they started dating on the show. So it's like, they're always going to have rumors come up about that. I still hear people talk about Sarah Michelle Gellar and David Boreanaz.
She is married to Kanan, and it's fine. And that's awesome. From Star Wars. Anyway, let's move on to Una, Spock, and Doug. You know what? Before we get to Una, Spock, and Doug, do we need to talk about Palia? Because she's not in the outline, and she was wonderful the whole episode.
Yes, let's talk about Palia a little bit.
Yeah. She sort of was the person who couldn't transform, and then she's sort of been like this comedic voice of wisdom. They all sort of gathered in her room because it's so cloaked from everything, because it's so weird and eccentric. I love that. What did you think of Palia in this episode, Hawk?
She's always good. It's Carol Kane, she's been like in comedy for longer than we've been alive. So she always hits those marks, and that she always knows like the right intonation and that. I loved her in this episode. As MC mentioned, and her experiences with LSD in the 60s and 90s, and then last year. I don't have too much else to say about her in that. She, like you said, you kind of summed it up nicely in that. She's always there, it's like for, not just comedy in that, but she's always that voice of wisdom in that they seem to really trust and adore. And that's why she's great on the show.
MC.
So I do wonder if Palia tried LSD last year. Do you think she was microdosing while teaching at the academy?
Oh my God. Could you imagine that's how Scotty met her? Yes.
Well, I mean, it doesn't work on her, so.
That's so funny.
But yeah, no, she was delightful. She was the one thing that I really liked in that, uncomfortable scene at the beginning. Her shaking her arms and like trying so hard to make it happen. It looks like fun. And that's just something you expect from somebody who is 5,000. That is, you just want new experiences. So that's really fun. And her quarters being off the grid, it's just like perfect. Absolutely perfect. Just totally what you expect of her. I mean, I know I've complained a lot about the relationships, but I do have to say that Mbenga seemed super comfortable in her quarters.
That's fair.
And see, this is the thing, Star Trek. We don't need you to put in your high school romances, because we can come up with our own shit where I can say, well, there's a reason why Mbenga knows that Pelia's quarters are off the grid. So, yeah, I'm just saying.
I love it.
Yeah. I am disappointed that nobody played the jukebox.
I mean,
it should be like Chekhov's jukebox. If there's a jukebox in a scene, that it should always be played.
Yeah, then they can't hear it, what they're talking about. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. And the scene of her just popping up in bed, where it's like, these ships are killing me.
I love it. She was so good this whole episode.
She's so good.
So good. All right, let's talk about the last couple of people. That's Una, Spock, and Doug. What do we like? So there's a sequence where Spock and Una decide that they need to talk to a Katra expert. And who do we need? Patton Oswalt. Patton Oswalt is this Katra expert, and there's this whole sequence where Spock is pretending to be her husband, and there's some awkwardness and glares. What did we think about the sequence and Doug being a Katra expert?
I mean, I love that it started out in one direction, which I wasn't really kind of happy about. It's like, well, that whole thing is like, well, pretend we're married, and then it's like, it's kind of a tropey comedy thing in that. But then, like, it kind of, when they actually sit down and cut through it, the bullshit and that, and he's like, you lied, and it's like, yes, I did, and then he wasn't upset that Spock lied. He was fascinated that he could, and that because he himself is actually very fascinated by humanity and that. Boom, Vulcans actually have interior lives, writers. They're not all like uniform and cookie cutter, and it doesn't come from the genes and that. It comes from the environment and how they were raised and that. And obviously, like, he was raised in an environment where, like, his parents also fascinated by humans and culture, their culture and that, to the point where he has a brother named Pete and a sister named Susan, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. It just like it's almost like you needed Patton Oswalt to bring humanity back to Vulcans, and he did that, and I'm sure he loved it. He's a longtime Star Trek fan, and that, it's like he did great. The fact that, like, there was like some sort of love connection between him and Una was just like, I don't know, like, for me, I know, like, we're not big on the relationship aspect of it and that, but I don't know, like, for comedic purposes, it just kind of worked in that, it's like, and when he showed up with flowers at the end.
Adorable.
Loved it.
MC.
Okay, so I'm sorry. I probably every time I say like okay or take a really big sigh, everybody's just like, oh, MC's gonna get into it now. Just to start with, I thought Spock in this episode was really strange in that for an episode about Vulcans, Spock isn't in it a lot.
Yeah.
No.
He's just kind of there until the end where we get that Katra scene with him and La'an. So that was an interesting choice for them to do. As for the Una, Doug, and Spock stuff, well, this is where we run into another problem for me. I think Patton Oswalt was so good. He was so funny. I love the concept of Doug. I would love to see Doug in any other situation than this, because I have been complaining about this since before I got onto Strange New Pod. Strangely enough, like the first time I complained about this was in the first time that we did a, Vulcan humor episode. And that is, y'all know what I'm going to be saying, the heteronormativity of Strange New Worlds. And I'm not saying that like all of the characters need to be gay, but can we have somebody? I know that we don't have confirmation that Una isn't into women, but it does seem like we've just established here that she's obsessively in love with Doug. Like they're just, it seemed like, and I understand that people can like lose themselves in love, but the fact that she does kind of completely do a 180 on her entire personality, it kind of goes back to that high school thing. It felt like she reverted to somebody in high school. So I wasn't too sure about that. It felt like they were throwing another heterosexual romance onto the fire for the sole purpose of the writers thinking that it was funny for Rebecca Romaine to be obsessive over Patton Oswalt, because supermodel in love with a schlubby guy is always super hilarious. So I was not crazy about that part, and the let's pretend we're married part is always kind of like this, weird cliche going on. But I liked Doug and Spock. I liked that stuff, and I think that I would have, as Julian said in the chat, I would not have minded a full Doug episode. I would have been fine with a whole episode about Spock maybe having to go meet a Vulcan dignitary, and it turns out that it's Spock. And not Spock, it's Doug. And, he's like expecting like one of those Vulcans that from like the Vulcan High Command that, he had to deal with, and, he like rejected him or whatever and insulted him. And then he meets this guy who's just like fascinated by all of this human stuff. It would have been so great to get that. I like Spock not being ashamed of his human side, because obviously Spock is somebody we always think about his Vulcan heritage and how much he treasures that. But Spock spends his good majority of his life serving on human vessels, having almost entirely human friends. So his human heritage is very important to him. So it's kind of nice for him to have that validation from somebody else in his species, somebody who just thinks he's really cool before he's, like the huge ambassador Spock. Just, when he's just like Lieutenant Spock, I love that. So, yeah.
Yeah. For sure. I really like Doug. I love Doug. I want to see more Doug. Doug needs to be more in this. You know what? I like the scene. I thought it was funny. But I also realized that there are times in my life before I got married, where I would see like an old flame and just sort of lose my brain. And it's not good. And I'm slightly ashamed of it. By slightly, I'm very ashamed of it, because there is like one or two people where that has happened. And you know what? I see the humor in that and the stupidity of me doing that, and I can see why it's such a big cliche for some people, and why they keep putting this in things. So I appreciate that, because I'm stupid. But yeah, I like Rebecca Romaine. She's funny, and I like when she gets to be funny. Patton Oswalt can do no wrong for me as well. So having him be this amazing person who loves humanity, and if you ever listen to his stand-up, he likes to tear us down a little bit. So to hear him be like, there's some fascinating things about us. I liked it. I do want to see more Spock and Doug. Yes, that would their little chat just at the end of the sequence was lovely. It and I do wish that Spock sort of appreciated himself more, but I don't think we got to see much development of Spock this episode.
Yeah. I do have to say that as much as I complain about all of the Una and Doug stuff, because I will always get upset when Strange New Worlds adds another het relationship before adding a single queer one. Her line of I could slip away for an afternoon was so good.
Spock right beside her and just like, what? So good.
Yeah, because this is the thing. I complain about a lot of stuff. I analyze a lot of stuff, but I can also recognize that there's some stuff that is funny.
This is like, it's genuinely just she's good. She's a good comedic actress. I would love to see her in like a rom-com. Has she been in a rom-com?
Well, the only thing I can really think of her being in as a comedy is actually, I think, possibly the first thing I saw her in, which was Just Shoot Me, the TV show, sitcom, where she played David Spade's wife.
I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen that in years.
I wonder if that's on Crave. That's a Canadian thing for us. Remember, we're all Canadian. I'll find out afterwards. Anyway, let's move on. What did we think of this is one of the episodes that have a post-credit scene. So if you haven't stayed to the end of the credits, there's a post-credit scene that has a little bit of more back and forth between Doug and Spock. Hawk.
I didn't see the post-credit.
You son. We talked about this in the chat.
Oh no!
Go watch it right now.
Terrible about catching up in the chat too and everything. I didn't watch the post credit. Does it have to do with the, too slow?
Yeah, that whole thing. Yeah. Was that put online?
That was definitely put online. I did see that. So okay, yeah. I was actually wondering why I'm missing because I was like, oh wait a minute, where did that scene go? Okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of those.
That's
MC. What did you think of it?
So I missed it the first time I watched it because I always turn off our screeners like right at the credits.
Yeah.
But then, thankfully, I watched Sean Ferrick on Trek Culture before I actually watched the episode again, and he mentioned it. So I was like, "Oh, I missed a thing. I'll have to, check that out." And as soon as I watched it, I messaged Julian, and I'm just like, "Oh my god." I want an entire episode of just this. I forget all of the problems I had with everything. I just want this for 45 minutes because Patton Oswalt is so funny. I'm fairly certain that there was a lot of improvising going on there. Because Patton Oswalt's really good at that. If anybody has not seen his Parks and Rec extended filibuster scene, oh my god, go see it. It's so good, and it's completely improvised.
It's perfect.
Literally, the book of Boba Fett took everything he talked about.
That's very true.
Yep.
And I think Ethan is also really good at kind of humor. So, like, this whole scene of them going back and forth and Spock teaching him just the most ridiculous human things. Like, when I saw Spock with his hand up and his finger out, I'm like, oh my god, he's not teaching him that.
Pull my finger. And then what? Flatulence. Why?
It was amazing.
It's so good. It was so good. I can't add anything to that.
Sorry, spoilers.
It's so good. You guys need to watch. It's just I hope on the Blu-ray that we'll all eventually get. There's way more of this because if they don't, that would be a shame. So by the end of the episode, with the crew going through all these Vulcan tribulations, it seems, I'm gonna air quote this, like they have a much better, at least Chapel says it, they have a much better understanding of Spock's struggle. Does this feel earned, Hawk?
Not particularly, no. Yeah, I don't think I learned anything from this episode, so I can't imagine they actually learned anything from the experience. No. I don't feel it's earned. I feel like, the ending came so quick. Like the transformation back would just it happened, and then, everybody's off and that, Chapel says she has a better understanding of Spock, maybe, but, I don't have any better understanding of their experience from this entire episode and that. So it just doesn't feel earned.
MC.
No, it doesn't feel earned to me because it feels to me like the only thing that they learned about Spock's struggle is by acting exactly like the jerks that Spock went to school with. This was pointed out again by Trek Culture that part of the jarring thing about making a comedy episode about lol, we're full Vulcan and you're half. Last week, we had Spock tell a story about self-harming because he wanted to cut his human half out. So how are you going to go from this serious story one week to, lol, it's all funny the next? I just,
doesn't jive.
Yeah. It does not jive. It is not cool by me. I mean, I didn't think it was good last week either. So let's just stay away from the subject of Spock's, half human, being, half, because people aren't half anything.
True. It's not earned. Nothing. No. Nope. I don't think they've learned anything. That's my issue with this episode, is that there's nothing they will take away from this, and nothing that will add to these characters moving forward. It's not earned. Let's just final thoughts. We're gonna go in reverse order, so we're gonna start with MC. Final thoughts.
So I am somebody who loves, like I said in the beginning, popcorn episodes you can just sit down, turn your brain off, and have it be fun. And in Star Trek, that does often end up being like these humorous episodes. One that I think is actually very close to this one would be like Rascals. Like a thing that happens to the crew that they have to adapt to. But the problem with doing that kind of humor in this situation is we've been telling them for years at this point that this subject of Spock's heritage is not something to make light of, is something that the writers are taking a fundamental and racist misunderstanding of. I remember I watched, before I was even on the show, I was visiting with Giraffe, and we watched the screener for Spock Amok. And the next day when she was driving me to the airport, us talking about the episode and just going through all of like the problematic shit that happened in it. So like it's been going back all the way to season 1, and Giraffe has been talking about it so much that, you know, she's not here because she's exhausted from talking about it. And I don't blame her, because it seems to me like every time they bring up this whole genetic essentialism and Spock is half and half and Spock is inferior because he's not a full Vulcan, all of this different kind of stuff, every time they do it, they kind of double down on it. Like, you know, Spock Amok lightly dealt with it, and then Charades really went in on it, and this one just like an avalanche of it. So at this point we're tired. Jessie Gender in her review did hypothesize that the line about, you know, they got their logic because the serum came from Spock was added because of the backlash from San Diego Comic-Con, which I could totally see, because that line doesn't really jive with everything else in the episode. So if that is the case, if they added something in because of the backlash from San Diego, which was big, and I don't think that this episode is going to be super well received, hopefully there will be enough time to not put in any wacky Vulcan hijinks episodes next time. I mean, it's fine to do an episode with, you know, wacky Vulcans, but it's hitting the same note every time, where it's just like the same thing. It's all about, you know, Vulcans are genetically like this and Spock is, you know, it's, I know they're not a real species, but certainly there's a lot of coding for, you know, Spock and, you know, being biracial. It's something that we don't need to touch on lightly anymore. It doesn't need to be humorous. So, I don't know, do an episode about wacky Vulcan explorers or something. Vulcan Indiana Jones. I bet you Giraffe would really like that.
Combine two loves of hers.
Yeah. Questionable archaeology with Vulcans.
Yeah. Huck?
again, like one thing that the writers just do not seem to be cluing into the fact of is that genetics and taught behavior are two completely different things. It's like they exist away from each other, and that you don't take a serum, get transformed into a Vulcan, and come out as a bigot. It's something that they would have learned in that. It didn't override like all their life experiences and everything that made them Pike and Leon and Uhura. Where were their characters within the framework of being a Vulcan? We didn't see that. We just saw them transformed into just gross stereotypes. And yeah, the writers really need to pay attention to this. Like, I don't know why we keep getting this. It's like, well, it didn't work the first time in that. Let's try it again and see if we can get it right this time in that. That is, of course, the definition of madness. Expecting a different result by repeating the same thing. And people are noticing, and it's upsetting people. And Star Trek is supposed to be like a refuge in that. It's like where we look into the future in that, and we see like all the things that are terrible about where we are right now. Can be different in that, but it doesn't feel like very different from now.
I would like to add that this type of episode, I know there are people out there who like this episode, and honestly, more power to you, because we're all complex individuals and have our own experiences, and some people don't take this stuff as seriously, and that's fine. But my problem with it, the whole, oh, it's just a comedy episode, we can't take it seriously. So many people take Star Trek seriously. There's, basically, Trekkies have been saying that, oh, we want Gene's vision to be what the future actually looks like. So if people unironically say that, so if we actually want the Star Trek future, then we need to look at episodes like this and be like, this is not stuff that we want represented in our future.
You good?
I think so. Can't think of it.
Sorry, I didn't.
That's okay.
No, it's okay.
It all needs to be said, and yeah, and you're right. Spock, for years. Well, first off, let's to add to what you said. Yes, Trekkies take this seriously. It's like they are a culture in that kept a 3-year show in that alive for decades. Even when the studio had given up and everybody else forgot about it. So yes, Trekkies take this stuff seriously. And secondly, Spock has always been that a representative for people who are biracial and that, or even people who have felt othered within a certain demographic, right? It's not respecting. It's not respecting their experience in that. Again, the writers do better, please. Yeah. We want to love these episodes, and we want to be excited when we review these episodes and that, but honestly, it causes us a lot of trepidation in that when we have to go in and that, and it's like we feel so terribly about what we've actually just saw.
Yeah, it's not fun to do this. I know there's a lot of people out there who basically their entire channels are just bashing on different Star Treks. That's not what we like doing. We only do that when we feel serious about something. So
it's not like we're bashing it for bashing's sake, right?
No.
We see problems with this. Like when I saw the cold open and I saw them looking at Spock with such disdain, I was like, oh shit, we're going to be going into this episode. And, we didn't really touch upon the biracial aspect of Spock, but what came out felt a little worse for me, because inherently what this episode shows us is that our genetics are what we are. That's what it says. That you're
Vulcan, no escaping it.
There's logic. My whole life I've gotten, you're Asian, you must be good at math, you must be good at computers. I'm like, yeah, but that's not why.
Because you work at it.
Because I work at it. I like using computers, but it's not the thing I like. I like being an actor. I get paid to do musical theater. That's the part I like more. Does it matter that I like computers too? Yeah, sure. There's still math is fun, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't my main thing, but like that's what you get like when people see things like and that's like it's so basic. Like people are just like they see someone and they're like, oh, obviously they're that, and that's what this episode is teaching you. Like obviously their genetics are what overrides them, and I don't like that. That hurts. That sucks.
And we've had to say it again and again and again, and we're saying it again now. And it sucks.
And
Do
like
better.
Superman, the biggest movie in the world currently, K-pop Demon Hunters is the biggest movie in the world. Let's be honest. But Superman, like even then, like we got the whole thing about, you know what? It's not where you come from; it's who you are, right? You're grown into who you are. It's your experiences. It's everything that makes you you. It's not just your background, right? I mean,
we also got a little bit of that in K-pop Demon Hunters.
We did too. It's true. It's accepting all of you, not hiding things.
Yeah.
Right? It broke into a million pieces and you can't go back, but all those pieces, you know, are part of you. Like this is the part. These are lyrics of a song that I love.
Yeah, no, it's so good.
I would sing.
I need to watch that again. I was so upset that I couldn't go see it in theaters because I was sick. But
the sing along was delightful, and the fact that so many people dressed up and people were taking pictures with us, and everyone was like it was such like Fan Expo was fun. It's fandom. Like this is what we are. We're fans, right? We want to feel inclusive. Like we aren't just this one thing. Like I shouldn't just like anime because I'm Asian. I shouldn't just like Star Trek because I have a Star Trek shirt. It's everything. We are multiple things. We're complex creatures. We are not just that one thing.
Yeah,
that's what we should be.
We're smart people, and we don't like being talked down to.
Yeah, exactly. Would this? I really wish that this episode at least was consequential enough that we'd be like, they learned something from this. They didn't. Uhura's still going out with Beto, I guess. Chapel sort of, you know, I don't know. It just it feels
Chapel's tired. That's what she
tired.
is.
Yeah. I don't understand. It's like it makes no sense. It's like, is logic too much? Is that bad? Like, do we need a mixture of stuff? Like, do you need some work-life balance? Is that what we're learning? We're learning nothing. That's what bothers me. Are people bad at relationships? That's what this episode sort of seems like it's about.
I think, yeah. I mean, I speak as somebody who is not a professional. Well, no, I guess I kind of am a professional writer, but I speak as somebody who has never been hired to write a television show.
You're a published writer. You are a professional. You're published.
Thank you. But when it comes to a story, I think you've always got to look at the characters first, like before you look at the plot, and that's how am I going to get this character from point A to point B in terms of their character arc? And then let's build the plot around that. I do not see that at all in this. This is, let's turn 4 of our characters into Vulcans and have wacky hijinks. But there's no real character growth, because even with La'an, did La'an learn to accept herself as an augment, or did she learn to hide it more, to try to suppress it? Did Spock learn anything about himself? Did Uhura, if Uhura hadn't been a Vulcan, she probably nothing would have happened with Beto, because she wouldn't have had a problem with what was going on. Yeah. So yeah.
Like, is there gonna be consequences for this episode in future episodes? No.
It's never going to be mentioned again.
Never.
Nope.
Never. Unless maybe in a pre-roll thing at the beginning of an episode. Remember when we did this? Yeah.
Remember when we turned into Vulcans? That was weird.
Yeah, that was weird. Let's not do it again. All right. I guess that's it for this episode. Let's get to the subspace to Poland mailbag. Yeah, who wants to do this one?
I can do this one.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, from Subspace to Paul, we asked Trek Threads what they thought about 4.5 Vulcans, and this is what they had to say. 46% said up high.
Good for you guys.
8% said down low. 35% said in the middle. and 12% said too slow. I thought that would have been higher.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, just based on the reviews I've seen online, this has not been a universally liked episode, which is fair. Anyway, let's get to the mailbag. MC, you're next on this. Can you take Matt?
I do have to say, Julian, we love you putting up the polls and everything, but I'm very confused by having down low and in the middle switch.
Fair, fair.
Logically, because it was Vulcan episode, logically they should be switched. But yes, Matt Harker wrote, I think this episode tried way too hard on the humor front to do what it needed to do, develop 6 of its main characters. Yet the dance sequence was sexy. Yes, the dance sequence was sexy as hell. And yes, I did manage several chuckles, but honestly, I need to rewatch to decide, was it because it was genuinely funny or just absurdly so? I can't help but think, despite mostly sticking the landing, that this episode wasted a precious episode slot on a less than standard Strange New Worlds writing. I'm thinking somewhere in the 6 to 7 out of 10 range for this one, with one exception, Una's outfit in the bar at the end. 10s across the board. Yeah, she looked... Rebecca Romaine's got great legs.
I mean, yeah. Simon wrote, explain the LSD gift from Voyage Home. What's the LSD gift from Voyage Home? I don't.
From Voyage Home? That's
I don't remember. I remember
that's
them. It's Spock and Kirk, right? Talking to the.
Yeah.
But I don't remember. Seeing, oh my God.
I believe that Kirk calls it LDS instead.
I don't. I think he had a little too much LDS. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I just looked it up. Okay, there you go.
And that's why Lower Decks got the initialism that it did.
Oh, really? That's so funny. Can you take Robonage? First time mailbag.
I think it's
Robonage.
Yeah, first time mailbag. So welcome.
I can't read.
So they wrote, there was a lot to enjoy about this episode, but I just couldn't get past how fundamentally flawed the basic premise was. I'm not someone who expects the writers to stick to every nook and cranny of Kanan, but Vulcans being inherently passionate beings who strive to control their emotions through logic isn't just a random thing mentioned in some mid-season 3 TOS episode. It has been a fundamental element of Vulcans since the beginning.
That is, yes.
Yeah, I appreciate the way this episode moved various character arcs forward. Don't know who those were. And there are a lot of great scenes sprinkled throughout, but I can only yell, this shouldn't be happening so many times in 45 minutes. And because of that, I think this is ultimately the worst episode of Strange New Worlds to date for me for its blatant disrespect of canon.
I'm going to take Eric the Red. Eric the Red wrote, holy hell, what a mess of an episode. Despite the attempt at humor, this episode made me mad. Once again, we have a complete misunderstanding that the Vulcans being logical is cultural and philosophical and not biological and genetic. As someone with autism, the humor at times came across as making fun of neurodivergent people while trying to pull a we have to become like them to understand them better trope storyline. Lon mimicking of Romulan got undercut by bringing up that her behavior is because she's descended from Khan. Although Chrissy Chong is as an actual Romulan character would be fun if done in a different series. Doug was interesting as a concept, and the dialogue between him and Spock was fun, but again, way overdone with his scenes with Una. Honestly, the most frustrating episode to watch in a season full of frustrating episodes for me. Wait, did I go out of order?
Yeah, I'll go next.
I'm so sorry.
You got
it's fine. I'll take Davey. It's actually very funny. Before I read Davey's, I hope people know that Davey and I actually have a podcast together, the Trexperts Quiz, which is coming back soon. Plug. But I woke up this morning to a message from him, and it's just like, I need to know what you think of this episode.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, just like, I mean, granted, he's in Australia, but it was just like, I think it was like 6:30 in the morning or something like that. It was great. Anyways, okay. Davey W. wrote, I really, really want to say nice things and have a balanced opinion, but it felt like another swing and a miss for season 3 of Strange New Worlds. It had genuinely funny moments that were broken by inconsistent performances by the actors playing Vulcans. I know they can do better, so why didn't they? However, I did feel we got some genuinely touching moments between characters, like with Ortegas, Uhura, and Umberto. Also, Kirk and Scotty have incredible on-screen chemistry. Mm-hmm. Everything else felt like a poor attempt at a Lower Decks episode. Why did so many resolutions happen off-screen? Why was there no plot holding things together?
Yes.
It is all so illogical.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you take Emily?
Emily Rye, is that? Oh, sorry. Anyways, Emily Rye wrote another wacky Vulcan episode. So, hey, the writers don't know the difference between biology and culture. It's appalling, and I hate it. The entire thing was supposed to be funny, I guess, but I wasn't laughing. There were so many things I disliked. Pelia's unprofessional high five in the briefing. Una being lovesick like in a stupid sitcom. I was kind of hoping she would be asexual or lesbian.
Ooh, asexual Una would have been good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The entire scene where Una and Spock were pretending to be married was painful to watch. And the resolution happens off camera. Suddenly we get a first officer's log explaining how Doug helped and everything is fine now. The scenes with Scotty, Kirk, and Romulan and Leon were really good. And Kirk wanted to see Leon. Here's my shipper heart, hoping she dumps Spock for Kirk.
Spock's gonna dump her for Kirk. Sorry, what?
MC, why don't you take Michael?
Michael Kwan wrote, after charades, I had fears for this episode. I'm largely forgiving it because, one, the Kirkovian transformation didn't raise the same concerns for me as charades. 2, the episode had major payoffs for some characters. And 3, Doug and Una's romance gave me heart.
Were there payoffs?
I think we talked about that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to take Mars. Mars wrote, I laughed. I clapped my little hands. I wasn't mad at it. Yay.
Yeah.
All right, Hawk. Tara.
Tara wrote, I didn't love this. It was just so ridiculous in so many ways. Why did they have to stay dressed in Vulcan garb once they were back from their away mission? Weren't the ears and eyebrows enough? I found the whole subplot with Una unoriginal and silly, although I love Patton Oswalt. And I don't understand how Battelle is even so alive. I'm willing to suspend my disbelief for warp drive, but not that they could cure her. Christina Chong was very entertaining as ultra-violent, but the dance transformation, what? All that said, I did love the opening credits with Anson Mount reading the text as he interpreted a Vulcan might. This was my biggest laugh of the episode, and I love that they added Jakaru to the opening credits a la Lower Decks. LLAP, everyone.
Hawk, why don't you, or not Hawk, MC, why don't you take Jedi Cat?
Jedi Cat wrote, full disclosure, I wasn't sober when I watched this, so it made the experience a little easier. I did smile and laugh at times, but was still left wondering, WTF? The science stuff / Vulcan hijinks were awful. This should be the last Vulcan hijinks episode ever. Although I appreciated the acknowledgement that some Vulcans can be jerks. I thought Una and Pike had the funniest storylines, and I enjoyed Patton Oswalt, but I don't think Anson Mount made the best acting choices. What was with that voice? Let me get this straight. When humans transform into Vulcans, they get Vulcan superpowers, and if someone with augment genes get Vulcan genes, they become Romulans? WTF. Some story elements were downright silly. Salk hates Pike because of his hair. Some were cringe-inducing, mind meld, enough said, and others were enjoyable. Yay, Kirk and Scotty team up. It didn't stink as bad as I feared, but it was certainly as dumb as I imagined, and with a totally asinine premise at its center.
All right. I'm going to take Colin. Colin D wrote, I'm not good at reviews, but here goes. Our 4 Vulcans, in light of years of knowing Vulcans, were some of the worst Vulcans I've ever met. Air quotes. They resembled Jonathan Archer's Vulcans. I feel like that was just bad writing, period. However, the real Vulcan, Doug, was a blast, and I laughed and laughed. Rebecca Romaine and Patton Oswalt were comedy gold. Huck, can you take Jay Woodman?
Sure. Jay Woodman wrote, too many cooks in the kitchen and 4 too many Vulcans in this episode. I could have settled for the 5 minutes of an away mission and a return to business as usual. We have strange new worlds to explore. Yes, I am yelling.
MC, why don't you take Yum Yum Pod?
Yum Yum Pod wrote, episodes like this just make me appreciate and love Tuvok all the more. Voyager putting Tuvok in the crew showed us even more that, yes, full Vulcans have personalities, faults, desires, passions, love, and aren't just a bunch of emotionless supremacist jerks. Also, me sidebar, also Tuvok can lie. He did it in the very first episode of Voyager. I haven't commented much on this season because it's been so damn boring, but these last 2 episodes have that Picard level bad messaging that I couldn't help but be engaged for the first time this season.
Dang. I will take Sedan 317, who wrote, okay, 4.5 Vulcans, just wow. At first, I thought this was going to be a dumpster fire of an episode. I mean, another freaking Spock existential crisis. But the episode actually developed our characters. We got to see our temporary Vulcans gaining new perspectives with their friends and more TOS bonding with Kirk and Scotty. Una with an X was good to see. But the whipped cream on top was the post-credit style Marvel scene with Spock and Doug. I know our SNP crew have been really hard on these high concept episodes, but this one was way more fun and character informing than I had any right to expect. Bravo. And Huck, won't you bring us home with Travel Lady 12?
Sure. Travel Lady 12 wrote, I don't really know what I just watched. So much happening to all of our characters. Pike is Vulcan, oh dear, but it provided Marie for a promotion. Vulcans can be impressed. Una and Doug, what kind of love potion was involved there? Leon's transformation was scary, but made Jim, Kirk, and Scotty bond. And Spock seems to be the savior for them all, although he is only half Vulcan. Irony on irony. Pelly and Doug for the big laughs. An episode for multiple rewatches. And yeah, for the post-credit scene. I love Ethan's smile.
Yay, and that's it. We're done.
Yeah.
We don't have anything else to say. We'll be back next week.
We will be back next week with a
episode review of
new episode
of all the episode titles were released. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So next week we're gonna be reviewing Terrarium.
Episode 309.
309. Second last episode.
Oh, and Julian is going to be doing a post-pod watch-along of this episode directly following the pod.
So
at least that's what it says in the Discord, so I hope it is correct.
So if you're not part of the Discord, come and join us. And if you're not part of our Patreon, come join the collective. We have wonderful perks. We have wonderful people. Our collective is awesome.
Comment, and subscribe.
Exactly, because we need those. It helps us reach more people. So thank you guys out there for coming and listening to us talk about Trek. Thank you, Hawk and MC, for chatting about this episode. We will see you next time. Live long and prosper. Majram.
Thanks for beaming into our podcast today. If you want to keep the hailing frequencies open, you can subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. Like what you hear? Put in a good word with Starfleet and leave us a 5-star review.